Hello, show family, and specifically to you, our fellow leaders. What a crazy, crazy time we are living in. I'm sure one day when we're all old and wrinkled, we're going to tell our grandkids about this time in coronavirus, when there was this worldwide pandemic and lockdown and all of the weird things that were happening during that time. It's also a time in which I know many of us have been asking this question, what is church? Who are we meant to be as church? What is church? What is church meant to look like? And what does church look like in a time of pandemic such as this? That's a great question to ask. And I want to encourage you, let's continue to wrestle with that. The one part of the question is easy. The church is the bride of Christ, the body of Christ. The church is community, it's fellowship. It's you and me coming together, sharing life, doing life together. Church throughout the ages has existed in a variety of different forms and fulfilled a number of different functions that change from time to time. And that's where it gets a little bit more hazy, less clear as to who exactly and what exactly we should be in this time. I know, as I mentioned earlier, that one of the primary things that church fulfills in our life, or functions such a key role of church, is in our community, in our coming together. And of necessity, in a time of lockdown, that has been incredibly hard for a variety of different reasons. But I wish to encourage you, let us continue to find ways to press into relationship with one another, to build community in smaller groups and safer areas. I am so encouraged that as a church, I am not aware of a single COVID transmission that has taken place during one of our church events. I think that speaks very powerfully of the hand of God upon us, but also of your diligence in maintaining social distancing, in sticking to the various protocols, in making sure that when we have that exposure, we do isolate and we respect the instructions that are given to us in that regard. But I want to encourage us, let's trust God to, in the midst of pandemic, in a variety of different ways, to press in to community. Obviously, Sundays would typically be a big part of church life, that gathering, that time that we come together. And there are a number of things that would happen on a Sunday. One of them would be the ministry of the word. That is arguably the easiest part to replicate. And not just normal ministry, it's not just a good, solid Bible teaching. Obviously, that's important. But teaching that we believe to be prophetically relevant. In other words, what is the Spirit of God saying to us now and saying to you now? It's not just about a great message taken from a book, the next one in a series. It's about being sensitive to the Spirit. As I mentioned, that is the one that is reasonably easy to replicate. We can record that, we can give it to you in a channel like we are doing now on some delivery mechanism, and trust God to continue to speak to us in that way. The ministry that flows from that, that's a little bit harder. The laying on of hands, those moments where we experience God's presence, where there's an impartation. Let's trust God to find ways to continue to do that. The other element, which is very hard for us to reproduce, is that presence of the living God. That's something that comes from being in corporate worship, from lifting high the name of Jesus together. There's something beautiful and precious about lifting high the name of Jesus in our own time, by ourselves, perhaps even as a family. But there's something to be said when we come together as saints en masse to proclaim Jesus. And we miss that. That is so hard to replicate, even just on a technical level. Every week to do a really good, high-quality worship recording is a big challenge for us. Fortunately, we have YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube has ads, and if you don't have a YouTube subscription, then you have these ads popping up in the middle of worship, and that's just not ideal. And so, as we're heading into this next stage of lockdown, for the next while, we will not be doing Sunday services. You may have heard that already, until it's practical for us to do so again. And we want to invite you as leaders to take hands with us, to try and replicate as much as we typically would have on a Sunday, and perhaps even to do it better. And so, because we cannot have the corporate worship, we will be having worship evenings from time to time, obviously limited at the moment to 50, perhaps Friday nights, Sunday nights, we'll keep you up to date. But the idea is to have space where we can come together just to worship, just collectively to come and spend time in the Lord's presence, to hear His voice as He speaks to us. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the other big challenge is community. And so I want to ask you to take hands with us. Let us use our homes in small group environments to build community, whether on a Sunday morning, a Saturday, a Wednesday, whatever time works best for you. We are going to, you see, we're busy putting a type of studio together here. We want to deliver content to you that we believe will be prophetically relevant, that's accessible, that you can invite somebody to watch with you, to watch as a family firstly, but perhaps to invite one or two other families, friends, people to come together and to spend time together in the Word, to share around the Word. And the messages, we will keep them short, a little very similar to the church at home format we've been using in the past. And the idea is then that you can engage with that Word for you personally, but also with the people that you have invited. I know one of the prayers that we're all praying is, God, how do we remain faithful to the call that you have placed upon our lives during this time? The call to make disciples, the call to not only continue to grow ourselves, which is so important, but also to be able to disciple others. And then lastly, something that we will endeavor to continue to do is to engage in smaller, focused ministry environments, whether it be the finance seminar, which we did recently. I know many of you were encouraged by that. Something like Life Encounter, this weekend's men's ministry, the walk that we are doing with smaller groups where there can't be super spreader events. We're going to limit the number of size, but have it very focused in the time of ministry we'll be doing. And when those ministry opportunities arrive that appeal to you, that you know you will grow in, or somebody you know, you want to invite them along because they will grow, let's engage with those. Let's take hands together. Let's continue to pray. Let's trust God that His kingdom will continue to come in this earth, in our lives, as it is in heaven during lockdown. God bless you. I hope to see you really soon.